PP&E or all of these proposals would just create an opportunity to transfer from one classification to another classification of property, primarily commercial to residential. I think we're all sensitive to that, and we'll address it. I don't know what the solution is today, but I know there's a heightened level of sensitivity to that. And then the other one would be that it would just ultimately starve local governments to a point where they couldn't be functional. I don't know the solution to that, but I think we're all sensitive to it, and we're going to work towards that. And the governor's proposal backfills, I think it is 50% of the lost valuation. And of course, there's a debate over whether or not that's enough. I mean, we'll work through all those things, but I think that frames up where those bills are at. And I will also say, I think the Senate, the House, and the governor's office are very committed to doing something. I'll be very disappointed if we haven't done something significant by the time the session's over.
Really quick, the Senate Democrats, we passed our commercial property tax cuts this week, Senate File 522, and the notable features of that proposal are, one, it doesn't shift any of the burden to any other property taxpayer because it is 100% fully funded by the state. The state has to put the dollars in for the tax cuts for the commercial property. Number two, it doesn't shift. It doesn't reduce any of the support for schools or local government. So there's no reduction in services there. Again, that's because it's 100% state funded. And the third feature that I think is fairly attractive is it is targeted at smaller businesses. What we've said is we put a $50 million pool out there, and that will go out to apply the residential rollback to commercial property taxes up to a certain valuation, which based on 50 million is $32,000 of valuation. So the first $32,000 of value, you'd apply the residential rollback. We've also committed to putting an additional $50 million into this effort every time state revenue growth exceeds 4%. So as the state's budget improves, we put more money into commercial property tax cuts. By the time you get through 4 of those increases, $200 million, it would apply the residential rollback to all commercial property up to about $300,000 in value. So it really is targeted at Iowa-owned small businesses, Main Street businesses, and that, to me, that just makes sense because I think that's where you've got to target your efforts rather than big retail box stores like Walmart or Best Buy or whatever, which are going to be here anyway because they have to be here, right? I mean, that's not a matter of what, they're going to be here. So they don't, these out-of-state corporations, big corporations, they don't need the tax cut. Our smaller business owned by Iowans are where we need the commercial tax cuts targeted.